Welcome to Grow Overload. I'm Anthony, and here we are talking about framework again. Now I have the 12th gen here, Intel 12th gen, framework 13 laptop, and it's kind of the forgotten laptop at this point from framework, which is extremely disappointing. This is one of those things where I've been following this, right? I did a video update on them actually going through and saying, hey, we're actually, putting better forth an effort. We're going to make sure we get updates out, every couple weeks. We'll get you an update. We'll come out, and I have seen and I'm following all of them. So I'm following the 13th gen, the 11th gen, the 12th gen, and soon to be the AMD version, which should be here soon, for the batch that I was in, and that'll be my wife's laptop. But this is kind of the problem with the 12th gen right now is they still haven't been communicating, and the thread that was there, somebody was getting somebody else upset. It was locked, and so I never even posted. I've now created a community account. I figured maybe I'll start posting. Um, and the downside is that Framework has not came out and said, here's a dedicated thing for the Framework 12th gen dedicated support. Here's updates. And it's a little bit weird. I have to say, as we walk through stuff here, I hope that you can understand on how much they dropped the ball in one area, and it doesn't make sense. Like, there is somebody's really missing here on how to, keep on top of things at Framework. And if they say one more time, this is a small team, stop it at this point. You've had plenty of time from when you said to have a small team to just fix your workflow. People do not care about the small team anymore. They care about the updates, right? Even if it is, I have nothing this week. The last 2 weeks, we've had nothing. We've been focusing on this. We did not forget about you, right? We know that the 12th gen still needs to be supported. That's the sort of thing. It doesn't matter how big the team is. It's the update part. I don't get why they don't get this. And I don't get why they don't actually do the updates. That's the weird thing, right? I was in batch one for the um, Framework 13 AMD 7040, right? The Ryzen 5 model, batch one, which shipped out already. Guess what? When they had a problem, I got an email about it. In fact, then when they had another update, they had an email about it. Even with something else in their blogs, you can go through. There's been some blogs about sustainability and stuff. They put an update with where they're at. And all these updates, even on their blogs here, have had updates. Why was that not done for the 12th gen? The 11th gen has been getting updates, right? The 11th gen here has gotten updates, has gotten, gotten items here and responses. They've done that. So it's very, very confusing on why they haven't done this. And I have a theory, or an idea of why this is. Right, even with the AMD one, right, there's ports and there's port issues and how they go and power and everything else. I'll get into that later once I do an unboxing and review of this. But they've gone through and they said, they had an email just about that for the AMDs. And that's just amazing communication. So when I'm going through and I'm starting to look at what's going on with the 12th gen, I'm sitting there, like, how, where was the disconnect here? I'll say this now, I did reach out to Framework to see if they had any comment on it. They didn't. They've had plenty of days to respond over a business week. Um, yeah, over a business week to respond. And so I, that's the sad, disappointing part of this. There's no response, so I have to kind of go off of kind of just what I'm seeing. And if I had the response, it would have been added here already. But I do want to address what my feelings are on this 12th gen. I think that they actually have a major issue, and they don't want to admit it yet. And they're trying to work through it with the promises that they've said, and they're trying to get out of the woods with everything that has happened, and they don't want to actually say that this is going to take a lot longer, but they have no idea how to get out of the woods where they're at with the problems that they're having with the bios. I think that's where it is, even with a small team and everything else, right? Let's step through this a little bit here. It was November 7th, 2022. I believe they put the blog post out saying that they will have Thunderbolt support for the 12th gen. Then a little bit later after that, they had the BIOS update of 3.0.6. Since then, we are coming on what? It is now the 7th of October, so 11 months since the blog post of no official BIOS support for that. Now, they did say that the batteries, the new 61 watt batteries, will have a BIOS update for the 12th gen that will be supported. Still not here, right, because of that scenario. And I do think that they just bit off too much that they could chew with all these changes that need to be implemented with those CVEs, so with the security issues that were also there, and how they must have branched their BIOS and everything else. They are in a little pickle right now. I it happens, but there's one. I I get you have problems, right? I'm a developer. I've been developing software for many, many years, and I get it. You're going to run into issues. But the one thing you can't do is just go radio silence, which is what they did, right? They've had communication with the 12th or with the 11th gen. They've had a very good communication on the 7040, the Ryzen 7040. That's been outstanding. You know, they've been doing a lot of these things. And let's just take a quick look over here. So you got the BIOS guide, which I have to say, this is a um, very good layout. And I'm glad that they have a post like this of the BIOS guide that's pinned to their whole latest framework laptop topic. So they have, wish that the BIOS one was pinned to the top always, but BIOS guide is right here. So we have, getting back to the BIOS guide, right? This is the current beta version for the framework 13 because there was some issues. So it's getting their BIOS updated. They'll probably have fast iterations on this. You have no beta BIOS, but you have initial version of 3.03. Actually, the current version is 3.04 for the framework 13, 13th gen. The 12th gen, the forgotten, I'm calling it the forgotten generation, the forgotten framework. This is 3.05. 3.06 is the current beta version. I would, having a date here too isn't a bad idea, because then if people can go, I've updated my BIOS around this time period. This is something too, right? It has the CVEs, very good to have those. And then we have the framework 13, right? No beta version, but 3.19 is out. And where is this? 3.19, as you see, was August 31st up here. So they've been releasing, beta. Well, this is here. This is the release. Everything there, and they've been going through all that stuff. And then they had another response for that release. And then this is the 7040 BIOS beta, which is, nobody has this really in their hands yet. So besides press, so and they say when this BIOS will be on. So batch 2 and 3 will ship with these BIOS. If you have batch 1, you'll have to update. So they're having just a great amount of communication for this stuff, right? They are going through, and the AMD stuff, the 11th gen, all on top of it. And that's why I'm starting to really think that they just bit off too much for the 12th gen, and how they put it together is just causing them an issue. So what I think that they need to do on their support side is, if there is a problem like this where they're not getting BIOS updates, fixes, and people are having problems. Let's say the product's out of support, fine. Say it's EOL. But for something like this, like the 12th gen where the 11th gen is getting stuff. I think that they need to go to weekly updates, or I would say every couple of weeks, once you build up, hey, the trust of, yeah, we're working on this, we're working on this. And even if it is, we're working on this, we're working through some issues, you know, the next week we're still working on this, we're working through some issues. We did find a few fixes already, we're still working on it. And just get that rhythm back to build up your trust. Because right now, you know, if I was a business looking at this, and bigger businesses will have to look at this, looking at where the CVEs are, and if you've actually had a release of BIOS, and your stating of how you support BIOSes, I would have to disregard framework as a option based upon that when I'm reviewing your prior generations of where they're at. I get you're a small team. You keep saying it. That doesn't change the fact that you failed to communicate on this, right? And then, you know, going through it, one question I did have, right, in all this stuff, as you're, you know, reviewing and starting to build that up, and just putting out a post saying we're working on this, is how hard is it to say that you're stuck? How hard is it to say I need, you know, we're working on getting the right help we need to figure out what needs to be fixed. It's taking a little time to do this. How hard is that to say? We're working through communication, getting this person involved, you know, and you don't have to say their name, right? We're just working on stuff. It's way better than radio silence, right? That that's the sad truth of all this, is it just should just, you know, have that, you know, just get that communication out. So yeah, that's all I really had on this. You know, it's sad where they're at, but that's that's kind of how Framework is operating with this forgotten generation of the 12th gen, the forgotten framework. It's unfortunate. It's the one I got. So you're going to hear about it. But I am watching the forums, and you know, I have to say I got the 7040 batch one. The communication has been just amazing, telling me where my laptop is. I never had any question to go to contact support on what's going on because they were out in front of it. They were doing it. So that's why it's so baffling to me of why they went through and they don't have the 12th gen. Same stuff here. Like, seriously, framework? Like, how did you mess this up so bad in for the 12th gen? You got back on the 11th gen, doing very well there. You know, the 7040 is just amazing with that communication, and even on the BIOS side, you already got another BIOS out because you're working on that and getting those fixes. And then you have the uh, you know, the front end side of, you know, we had this issue, so we had to, you know, retool it, retest everything else. Why are those so great and you're still just issue with the cards of where the cards are and the powers that it's going to use for the, I'm very confused on how you messed up so bad on this 12th gen after you said we're going to do better. It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't. So let's jump over. I want to show you one other thing, which I um, am kind of interested in. If you are somebody like that wants to either skin your laptop, you know, decorate it, or whatever else, this is kind of cool. Dbrand, and this was on their forums as well. There's a whole Dbrand framework skins here on Community F Framework. But here's their skins. You can even start, you know, select your design or start the customizer. So this is kind of cool. They're thin, precise, factory fit, and you can get textured, scratch protection. And the nice thing is that if you need to remove it, there's not a trace. So video instructions as well. My wife might get one, so we might see. We might see. We'll see if I do and show that off as well. But I want to show that because it's kind of cool. I don't know if you're looking for a skin or something to your framework, but let me know in the comments below if you've had any interactions with framework and we're kind of sad about it. Let me know if you're in the same boat with the 12th gen, where we're sitting here waiting for an update that for the forgotten generation that Framework came out with. And if you're baffled too, right? I could see if you only had a 12th gen and you weren't looking at the forums, how frustrating this could actually get, because there's no communication, right, on this. There's not even a blog post saying, hey, we're sorry. Like, that, this is easy. You write a blog post trying to show a little bit more support. Like, just put forth whatever effort there is. It doesn't take long, and at least it makes your customers say, hey, I'm not the forgotten generation. You're willing to support prior generations after, but my generation gets no support, even though you promised a whole bunch of stuff. So with that, thank you so much for watching this video and supporting the channel. Like, share, subscribe. It really does help out. Don't forget to hit the bell icon as well. Leave your comments and questions in the comments below. And until next time, God bless.